Have you ever wondered what it really takes to make Agile work? Well, at the Global Agile Summit, we're bringing you real-life, first-person stories of Agile succeeding out there in the real world that will inspire you to take action. Whether you're a leader, a product innovator, a developer, you'll hear practical insights from those who've done it. They'll be telling their own stories from the stage. I'll tell you more about this at the end of this episode, so stay back and listen to the full detailed description of what we have in store for you at the Global Agile Summit. But if you can't wait, you can go right now to globalagilesummit.com and check out our full schedule. For now, on to the episode, but I'll see you at the end of this episode with more details on the Global Agile Summit. Talk to you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode. This week we have with us Anuj Ojha. Hey, Anuj, welcome back.
Hey, Vasco. Thank you so much. It's fun talking to you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Likewise, we've learned a lot this week, and we're going to learn even more. And let's start with the change process. And change is something we are always working with as Scrum Masters. So, Anuj, share with us a change process you were involved with. And walk us through the steps, like, from the beginning to the end. How did that change process unfold? And as you go, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Absolutely, Vasco. So when I got into the world of Scrum with the few project teams that I was working with, I felt that it's like a swimming pool. Come on, how big it would be. Let's go, let's swim. It's so simple, just a small guide. Let's do it. And then comes the questions, which I wasn't ready for. The management shown at me that, okay, let's talk about the iron triangle, the scope, cost, and time. We have limited budget. And these are the requirements which are must have. We want to make it happen. Okay. And again, making sure that we have to deliver this project in 3 months of time. And now you apply Scrum. Now you show us your agility. Let's see how it happens and make sure quality is sacrosanct. You are not going to compromise the quality. And I was like, oh my God, what happened here? Because we were talking about failing faster, creating incremental outcomes, working together, collaborating. And now I may need to go and ask the team that, hey, you have to work overtime if you will not be able to finish everything. And that was something I didn't want to choose. So I got my lesson about this change. We need to learn, first of all, the language which leaders talk in. We need to understand the language which customers talk. We need to understand the language which the team talk. And when you understand the language, you need to know how to communicate, how to ensure that we are guided towards the right path by applying the right approaches. So what happened? I figured out that you should never fix all the three. The scope, cost, and time. Quality is sacrosanct, it should never be compromised. But the scope, cost, and time, if we are fixing this, it is not possible for you to be agile. Let's accept that. Agility in the first place came because there's uncertainty in the system. We have ambiguity with us. And we are building a software product. Of course, the bugs will evolve. It has to come. Okay. So when I started getting into the management events, the leadership discussion, I figured out that you should never fix all the three. You can still fix the two, but keep the one arm loose. It means if the management asks you that, the scope is fixed, let's say some 200 tickets we need to finish. And, the time is also fixed, 3 months of time. Then you should ask the management, fair enough, good, thanks for telling me. Now give me this much more money. Your cost should be changing. You can ask for, okay, give us $1 million more. Possibly we will be able to finish everything. And then they may say, no. No, it's not, doesn't work like that. If suppose the cost and time is fixed, suppose the budget is $200,000, suppose the time is again 3 months. In that case, suppose you couldn't finish all what you have in this list of 200 tickets. You may always go back and say that in this scope, these are the 80 tickets which you prioritize as P0, P1 could be taken care of. Okay. So just an example here that it's very important for us to understand and even put your foot down to talk about it. So I faced the situation and I also ended up adding pressure to my team in my early career. And then that was the time I realized that this is not the way how it's going to work. And also, I'll tell you, sometimes when the code, we are working on a legacy code, okay, that time the technical debt becomes too high. So it's very important that how we build up case and go to the leadership team and other stakeholders into buying for the time and budget for fixing that legacy code or refactoring it, if you put it that way. So that's also the situation where I figured out that we changed the course of action by saying it's not always coming from the customer or product. The requirement could come from anyone. We need to learn, we need to think about it. Because if we only and only focus on DVF, that any requirement comes, and it's about finding the desirability, viability, and feasibility, okay, then we need to be mindful that what is the source of it. It should not be just always about desirability of the customer. If customer is desirable, we need to find the viability as well. But imagine this part that it's viable for the business, it's viable for the customer, but at the same time, making it feasible is such a challenging job for the team because it's such a old code they have to work on. So we need to ensure before we put that as a requirement, we need to respect how things are going also at the level of the code. So that is one example where I would like to say I worked on with our customers, educated them, with our key stakeholders internally in the organization, working with the team so that they should not be hesitant. They should not feel that we just have to do the magic with whatever we have. And later on, we've seen a significant spike into the productivity because the quality has improved. Now we are not into the spaghetti code. We have simplified the code. We have put in CI/CD pipeline in place, and it also helped us into automating the build process altogether. So how we can go hand in hand is where we have seen that change could be driven across the organization. That was just one example, but we can have many examples for that.
So for me, the aspect that struck me, and I would like to highlight, is this need to understand the language from all of the stakeholders that you mentioned, right? Like challenges are many, and in software we will always find challenges we didn't expect to find. So we can't prepare for them; we can only react to them. And that aspect of understanding each of the stakeholder group's language is incredibly important, as it allows us to then communicate productively, right? Like you talked about the specific context, so understanding the iron triangle and communicating the constraints, what's possible, what's not possible within that. But there are many other situations we could talk about, right? Like, increasing the size of the team or getting more teams or changing the technology or whatever, right? Like, as you said, we need to listen to everyone to figure out what needs to be done next. And then we need to communicate it to make it happen through that conversation that we have with the different stakeholders. So what are your tips and tricks when it comes to learning to understand everybody's language, so all of the stakeholder groups' language, and then also, of course, taking it in and using it in practice?
I'll tell you about one thing that usually happens in the agile industry, which is called agility health assessment. Okay. Many times it happens. So the inquiry that we get from the customers is about, we want to know how effective is agile in our organization is. Okay. And we always start with the first statement that what gets measured gets gamed. Like Mr. Great Peter Drucker has said that what gets measured gets managed. But it's very important that while you have invited us or while you are calling us to do the certain assessment, we want to tell you that the assessment is purely based on how functional is your team, not dysfunctional. Because the pattern that we have seen Vasco initially when we conducted multi-team agility assessment and whatever at the portfolio program and other levels, the results of the first assessment, if we do it like anonymous and people should be doing it, they are the one who should give the scoring against the different frames of thoughts. We found out the results are fantastic when we conduct the first assessment. Reason why? Because they have a fear. They think that based on the score of the agility health assessment, they will get evaluated and they will be scored. And, of course, in the organization, there are anti-patterns like they try to recognize and give awards to people, to the teams at times. But they do not know that it's demotivating in a way, because then people will start goofing up with the numbers. Okay. So it's very important, first of all, that we need to know its outcome, which is better over output. So when we see how things are happening at the level of organization, with the level of the team. It's important how you curate the plan for them. And that's where the entire game is. So it's always start with observing, because we call it as ethnography, right? When we go to a fancy restaurant and we see there is a guy who is well dressed, doing nothing, trust me, but standing in one corner and observing everyone. And you know what happens at the end of the day? This guy speaks. Hasn't spoken for entire day maybe, but at the end of the day, this person speaks by saying, you know what? This is what the customer feel when they see the menu. You know what? When people enter to our restaurant, they prefer to sit on this table the most. You know what? When they look at the food, they smile or they do not smile. You know what? At this time we are most busy, and this time we are not. So it's about observing. It's about understanding. You cannot just make a decision based on an assessment which has some 90 statements or questionnaire, and tell the team and tell the leaders that this is how it's working. So it's very important to let this sink in. It's important for us to do not rush to solve the problem. We need to learn to sit on the problem for longer, okay? And then over the time, let's brainstorm on solution, and also not getting married to a solution because things may change, okay? And then how you can build up the trait of experimentation. Possibly that's where I believe, Vasco, we might be able to make a move.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you said, which is really important, is the art of observing, right? Like, to understand people, to understand their languages, we need to be able to observe what is happening. And of course, assessments are one way to observe. And they are, I guess we could call them a highly effective way to observe, but they are not long observation. They are like just that moment, right? Yes. So it's important to recognize that it also has its limitations. But thank you for sharing that story. It was a great story. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasco.
Hey, friend. Thank you for staying. Here is all you need to know about the Global Agile Summit. If you've ever suffered or know people who are suffering from Agile fatigue, this event is for you. Agile fatigue is that feeling that settles in when we can't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. We get discouraged, especially when conversations revolve around the same old frameworks, the same old buzzwords and theories. We don't feel that energy anymore. Well, the Global Agile Summit is a different kind of event. We're bringing you real-life first-person stories of Agile succeeding out there in the real world that will inspire you to take action and transform the way you work. The Global Agile Summit will happen in Tallinn, Estonia, May 18th, that's the workshop day, and then 19th and 20th, the conference day. And Tallinn, Estonia is one of the most innovative tech hubs in Europe. The Global Agile Summit is hosted together with Latitude 59, which is kind of a citywide celebration of software startups and groundbreaking ideas. And we'll have a shared ticket for you to attend those events as well. So who will be speaking? Well, we've got an incredible lineup of thought leaders in software and Agile. For example, Clinton Keith, the person who literally wrote the book on game development with Scrum, and is busy bringing Agile to the world of game development. You must check his session. The very famous and well-known Jürgen Apelo, author of Management 3.0, will be talking and exploring about AI's impact on leadership. We also have Gojko Adzic, who's taking an unconventional look at the product growth with his lizard optimization keynote. Other speakers include, for example, Sven Dietz, who's challenging everything we know about software development by literally ditching contracts and estimates. Can you imagine? His teams deliver software before their competitors are even done with the contract negotiation. How agile is that? But there's more. We'll cover engineering practices in our developer track with talks on, for example, AI-assisted test-driven development, developing products in minutes with a different approach to how we develop, configure, deploy platforms, and much more. We also have a product track where we cover cutting-edge ideas around product discovery, delighting customers with product delight frameworks. We'll have a talk about that. And we also have an Agile business track where we will talk about, for example, open strategy, a very agile approach to managing organizations and delivering software faster to clients, faster than you can even write a contract, literally. I mean, I already told you about Sven Ditz's story. It's amazing. It definitely is a must see. I'm sure you'll be inspired and get a lot of ideas for your own software projects and software delivery. Now, whether you're a business leader, a product innovator, or a developer, you'll definitely find value in our 3 focused tracks. That's Agile Business for those working with businesses and organizations, Agile Product for product managers, product owners, and innovators, and Agile Developer for the builders, making Agile work in practice, the coders, the testers, the designers, the producers, the Scrum Masters, you name it. If you join, you will meet over 200 Agile professionals from all over the world. People who, just like you, want to grow, want to share, and want to learn by challenging the ideas that don't work anymore. At the Global Agile Summit, you'll get new connections, fresh ideas, and the energy to take your own Agile to the next level. And who knows, maybe even find your next career opportunity. So don't miss out. Check out the full program and grab your ticket now at globalagilesummit.com. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in Tallinn, Estonia in May. I'll see you there.